What's up, guys? My name is the Sauce Boss, and I am a 4.4 peak support player in Overwatch. But more importantly, I am the leader of the Zenyatta fan club. In today's video, we're going to go over everything about Zen. This is going to be a little more of an in-depth guide because I feel like most guides out there don't really go into the things they're explaining. They just tell you to do something and you do it. So in this video, we're going to actually dive into things a little more to help you understand why we're doing things. So bear with me here as these videos sometimes drag out a little longer than they should be. I try to condense them as much as I can, but before we waste any more time, let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about with the Zenyatta are his abilities. Let's focus on Harmony Orb first. From a support perspective, this is probably the best support pocketing tool in the game, probably aside from Mercy's Yellow Beam. And you're going to want to focus this a lot normally on one of your carry DPS players. You know, players like Genji, Tracer, even like a Pharah if you don't have a Mercy with you. And you want to do this because there's a couple schools of thought for it. For one, DPS players obviously have one of the lower health pools in the game when you're comparing it to a tank, for example. And they're also usually one of the most vulnerable heroes that you're playing with because DPS players, like I said, especially like Tracer and stuff, they have to go out of their way to actually try to make plays. So by giving them an Harmony Orb, you're just letting them stay more aggressive for longer periods of time, just disrupting the other team's backline and just making it overall a terrible experience for the other team supports. So just keep in mind when you're playing Zen and focusing on your Harmony Orb usage, always think about who you can use it on, where you can give them a little more advantage to actually play a little bit more aggressive and increase their value. The second point would be, think about it this way, right? If you're going to focus Harmony Orb on tanks the whole time. The first reason I see this being a problem is because tanks, for one, have way bigger health pools than any other role in the game, so they're meant to, absorb a little bit of damage in most scenarios. And, I mean, every single tank in the game has something built into their kit to increase survivability. I know other DPS also have that, but you're putting two things together. You have increased health, and you normally have an ability to help yourselves anyways. And this doesn't mean to, start playing Zenyatta and not heal your tanks at all, because there are absolutely scenarios where you should be healing your tanks, when they need it, they're critical, and they're savable. But what I'm saying is having a tank as your Harmony Orb focus, when I mean focus, I mean, spending most of your time allocating Harmony Orb, it should not be with tanks. Which leads me to my last point with Harmony Orb, potentially maybe even the most important feedback. Please do not forget about your other support player in the video game. You don't want to fall asleep behind the wheel. What I mean by that is you don't want to be just shooting shields mindlessly over and over and over and over again, like especially when you're playing again like Tracer, Genji, dive comps. I mean, who are those tanks and DPS trying to kill? It's either you, the Zenyatta player, or most likely your other support. So please, show some love for your other support and just try to have a little bit of situational awareness when you're playing Zen. Which is going to bring me to his next ability, which is Discord Orb. Discord Orb, in my opinion, is literally one of the strongest abilities in the game. There's plenty of ways to get value with Discord Orb, but I'm going to explain to you personally the way I think you should be using Discord Orb. Okay, so first off, and I should have mentioned this with Harmony Orb also, they kind of go hand in hand when I say this, but no matter what, always have something orbed. The thing about Harmony and Discord Orb is that you set it and forget it, right? I mean, you might as well just throw it on somebody for the time being, even if somebody doesn't even need it. Say it's like pre-fight or anything like that. Why not just give it to somebody? But then obviously as fights progress and things like that, you're going to have to adjust accordingly and use your Harmony Orb and Discord Orb, a little more reactively, let's say. Okay, with all those side tips being said there about Harmony Orb and Discord Orb, to me, there's a great way to get value with Discord Orb almost no matter what. The best way to go about Discord Orb is to just always give the tank players on the enemy team the worst experience possible. Specifically main tanks, but also flex tanks as well. It is already so hard to play main tank in this game as it is, so the problem is with main tank players when they're playing against Zenyatas, is good Zenyatas always Discord the main tank because their job's already hard enough because they're forced to go in and actually make a play. So since main tanks know that they have to actually engage at some point to create space for the rest of their team, as a Zenyatta player, if you just throw a Discord on them while they're going in or before they even go in, which is even better, you're just going to have potential to blow these guys out of the water even faster than you could usually. So keep in mind, in my opinion, for a default Discord orb, always focus the main tank, or if you can, sometimes the flex tank, but more times than not, it's even better to have it on the main tank. Now that doesn't mean mindlessly just throw it on the main tank and just leave it there for the rest of the game, because point 2 I'm kind of going to drag into here is you always want to also use Discord Orb when you find a target that's killable or out of position. And obviously you want to do this because if somebody's out of position or whatever, they're already killable. But if you transfer a Discord Orb to them, I mean, just think about the odds, how much it changes, and you're going to have such an even better chance of cleaning up that kill. Because that's kind of what Discord's really good at is, you know, it's giving tanks a hard time, but it's also really good at just putting on extra pressure, which correlates into kills. So to simplify that, it's just Discord the main tank by default, then adjust mid-fight when you see targets that are actually killable. Another thing I want to talk to you guys about is primary fire versus secondary fire. I feel like this is a pretty easy one to get the hang of, so we'll just touch on this very quickly. Your primary fire actually has more DPS than your secondary fire, so when you're going to use primary fire, you obviously just want to be using it while you see the target. With your secondary fire, you want to be charging this up while there's any bit of downtime. So let's say, for example, I don't know, let's say you get checked, so someone hits you and you take, 100 damage or whatever, and you take cover. Before you come back out and start shooting, you actually want to pre-charge your 5 orb, so that way, right when you peek again, you have an extra bit of burst damage coming out. So it's almost like even while you were taking cover, you can actually compensate for that lost time with a charging up of the 5 orb. Secondary fire can also be used for just, pre-firing chokes, that way you have increased kill potential, or practically just any time that you don't see an enemy target. You want to just anticipate by charging up that you eventually will see a target, and that would increase your kill potential massively. So just to simplify that, you want to be using primary fire while you're in the fight and can see the targets and you can just spam people out. And secondary fire is just going to be used for when you don't see the target and you're anticipating someone's going to be somewhere. Or like I said, while you're taking cover and you're getting ready to re-peek again, you want to have that 5 orb charged up and ready to go. Which is going to bring me into the last of his abilities, which is his ultimate, Transcendence. I just want to put this on the record right now and come out and say it that you almost never want to use this ability aggressively. There's just really not that much upside to be had with it. It's a little different with Lucio Beat because, with Lucio, you can actually pre-use Beat and speed your team in to actually close the gap and take the fight. But with Transcendence, if you use it early, by the time you get into the fight, the Transcendence is already going to be worn off, so it's almost like you just used it to take a little bit of space, and that's really not worth it, to be honest. So the best way to get value with your ult is going to be to try and counter the other team's win conditions. So things like Grav, Wrecking Ball Mines, Genji Blade, or literally just any team ultimate that can swing a team fight. I will say this though, do not be one of those Zenyatta players that hold their Transcendence for 40 minutes because they're just looking for one massive play. Your ultimate ability does not have to be some massive thing every time you use it. So as long as you use it, you get value with it, and your team wins a team fight, honestly, sometimes that's just good enough anyways. Some other minor advice before you use your Transcendence if you want to be able to get as much value as you possibly can with Zen. Always make sure that you have Harmony Orb and Discord Orb on allies and targets before you use Transcendence, so you always get that extra bit of increased damage and healing. So the best way to sum up your ultimate usage is, for 1, knowing what you're going to need it for, and 2, actually being positioned to execute it and get value with it. If you want my biggest advice when using this ability, just remember, no matter what, you always want to be using Transcendence reactively and not proactively. More times than not, if you use Trank proactively, it's not going to get as much value as it normally should when you're using it reactively. Alright, so we have all the abilities, the ultimate, and the primary and secondary fire covered, which is going to lead me into my last thing we're going to talk about, and maybe the most important, is positioning. I know there's some Zen 1 tricks out there who aren't going to want to hear this, but first and foremost, you have to actually assess the enemy team and decide whether Zenyatta is actually a good pick or not. For example, say they're running, I don't know, Monkey, Diva, Tracer, Genji, or something like that, like a standard dive comp. Do you really think Zenyatta is going to be the move in that situation? More times than not, probably not. But that doesn't mean that, say they have, a Monkey or even like a Tracer or something like that, say they're not a full committed dive comp, that doesn't mean you can't get value playing Zenyatta. You're just going to have to really think about how you're going to play Zenyatta and where you're going to position. In most videos, I see that people talk about how Zenyatta can just play in the back line and just chill and spam, blah, 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 and all those things. But sometimes just playing super far back in no man's land is actually a pretty bad idea, because think about Zenyatta, right? How many survivability abilities does he have? So if you're playing super far away from your allies, no one's going to be able to help you once a Tracer actually gets a clear entry into the backline. You're just going to be toast unless you win the duel, which is possible, but I don't think taking duels Zenyatta versus Tracer is what you want to be doing to get success. So this is kind of where critical thinking gets involved when playing Zenyatta. So let's just think about it. So say they're running, double shield or something like that, where they have absolutely no flankers, they have no mobile tanks, and it's just a spam war. Sure, it doesn't matter if you play pretty far back, because think about it, who's going to be back there to kill you? The answer is most likely nobody, because most people will be playing with their shields or playing long-range snipers or things like that. But now there's the other end of the spectrum. Like I said, say teams are running dive comps or even like a wrecking ball or a single Tracer. Do you think it's the best idea to be playing far away from your team? Probably not, because whether you want to admit it or not, Zenyatta is actually pretty reliant on the rest of his team to get value. So what your job as a Zenyatta player is, like I said, say they're running dive comp, you have to understand who's going to be able to help you and where that person is at that time. Most likely, it's going to be your other support, but there's also plenty of other heroes that can help you, like Diva, McCree, Soldier 76 with a teal pad, and plenty of others. So the main point I'm trying to deliver here is there's really not some universal positioning philosophy for Zenyatta. It's up to you as a player to analyze your team and maybe even more importantly, the enemy team, and you're going to have to adjust accordingly. And this is a big problem with people trying to climb, because they don't even think about these things while they're playing the game. They just launch Overwatch, queue for comp, just drop it, and just kind of, like I normally say, just fall asleep behind the wheel. Like they're just kind of going through the motion of things, just not really thinking. So to simplify Zenyatta positioning ideas, it is up to you to analyze your team and the enemy team and position accordingly to what everybody is running. Alright guys, that is all we have for the video today. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and if you have any questions or anything, you can leave a comment down below. I also have a Discord server, and even if you want to just ask me a question privately on Discord, I'll leave my links down below, and you guys can follow those if you'd like. And I swear this is my last plug. Follow me on Twitch at @thesauceboss_OW. Also will be linked down below. If you're looking for content similar to that, on my Twitch, we do a lot of thought process things, and a lot of times we're actually just doing VOD reviews for the viewers. So make sure to check it out if you're looking to get any better at the game. I appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to check this video out. Like I said, if you liked it or anything, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, leave some comments. Thanks guys, and have a good one. Talk to you soon.